Do I need cash to start a business? No, but it's a lot easier. You want to leave your chips at home, number one. Number two, if you've got property, I think it's better to do it without property. I think if you've got property, you should sell it. I had property before I started and it got too tied up. The banks wanted to securitize the deal with it. You're better to do it without property, and you're better to sell off your properties. And you're probably thinking, oh, I've got a little dipshit investment property, that's compounding at 10% a year. 10% a year is laughable compared to the returns you're going to make doing this kind of roll up. Laughable. So get rid of those dipshit properties. If you're a builder and a property developer and you're a property and you've got, that's a different story. You're probably not even going to do a roll up, but the margins are too thin with property development roll ups. Too risky. You're not going to get super wealthy in a short amount of time by being in the property game. Sitting on an investment and getting 10 dog shit % per year. We're talking exponential. Remember, these people have spent 30 years to build a business, and you're going to come in, the dipshit out of nowhere, and swoop it up using someone else's money. Who's the winner? So I prefer you didn't have property. And furthermore, it's much easier. You got 2 years experience in the industry. Great. Unfortunately, in Australia, if you've got an industry expert with 2 years of experience, even if they're not going to be major shareholders of the company, 20% or more, because that commits them to liability. And subsequently, the bank won't recognize it as sufficient experience. They want you, the major shareholder, to have experience in the industry. So if you're going into an industry where you've got no experience and you don't have an existing business, you're probably going to have to do a 100% vendor finance deal, unless you use your own cash. Or you use an asset to back it, like a property, which I prefer you left your chips. I prefer you leave your cash at home, and I prefer you leave your property off the table, and prefer that you don't have property. And you're thinking, well, I don't have an existing business. Well, if you do have an existing business, that becomes the first acquisition of your roll-up. Then you use that to leverage your second business, like what I did. I don't know what you're thinking. Oh, you had a business. It's all possible. Before I started, I'll go into another reason, because I made mistakes before. I went into other industries, not in my industry, and I nearly pulled off a 100% vendor finance deal. But I did up. And I could get a little bit of funding, but not a significant amount of meaningful funding from banks. But it is possible if you pick up the phone and get your boots on the pavement and get busy. 350 cold calls a day. 2,000 cold calls and you'll be a millionaire. But most of you won't do it, and you'll find an excuse. And you'll say that I'm lucky, I was born lucky, I was this and that, And most of you are going to start making excuses as to why I'm fortunate and you're not. And most of you will look at these videos and resent me. Because instead of taking accountability for your own life, it's easy to just blame someone like me. It's easy to dislike me. But for the warriors and the killers that take full accountability of their lives, and at least act as if they were responsible for everything in their life, you've got a high probability of success. Not guaranteed, but your chances are a lot higher. If you're single, your chances are a lot higher. Much higher. If you're older, it's more difficult. If you're smarter, it's more difficult. Because a lot of you people that are too smart, you're too smart for your own good. You overanalyze everything. You have to spreadsheet everything. All you need to be to do this is obsessed, hungry, believe in the process, smart enough to follow the process, and dumb enough to stick to it. If you're interested to learn more, follow me.